Pan IIT Alumni Reach for India Foundation is the organization I represent, and the concept is fairly interesting. It's something called Skill Gurukuls. We have a partner in Nudge as well, which we'll present in the second half, which is fundamentally a residential. It has 4 components. It has demand-led technical training, which is 100% placement. So it's an assured placement model. Second, we work with technical trades. As you know, we come from IIT, Indian Institute of Technologies, and that's probably where our strength lies in. So these are trades which are fundamentally amenable to dropouts. The third aspect of a skill gurukul would be sustainable skill loan model. So we have, for the first time in the country, thanks to NABARD and their support, actually come up with a loan-based skill intervention, which fundamentally is student loan-led. The last component is, of course, it's run in an environment which is led by ex-army boot camp style setup called Gurukul. It's residential, it is self-managed, and it has credit culture and life skills training in addition to the technical skills. So these are the 4 components, as it were, on skill gurukuls. So quickly, some snapshots and the trades or the kind of sectors we work with. Construction infrastructure, of course, is a big one. The second one is, of course, manufacturing. The third one we have started is for women. Textiles is one, and very interesting theme on women in manufacturing, which we are increasingly looking to push, CNC, welding, etc. And last one is, of course, logistics. So all of them, as you see, would be a technical kind of trades which are amenable to dropouts, and that's the basis with which we do this. How does the skill loan work? It is very similar to how a skill loan would work, for example, for an IITian. If you do not have money, but you are enrolled in one of the skill gurukuls, you actually get a loan by virtue of your admission into Gurukul. And then, since it's an assured placement model, you join the employer, you repay through EMIs from direct salary debits from your account, bank account, and then once automated EMIs are done, they go back to NABARD, which actually provides the revolving fund, as it were, which rotates, and that's done through their NBFC arm called NABARD Financial Services. Now, the important thing in this to note, and that's probably some of the takeaways from this model, would be the first thing that we look at. There's no beneficiary here, there's a customer. So the students, by availing 100% loan, are self-selecting themselves to actually taking up, though they do not have capital to afford upfront, if they are willing to at least take the liability of it. We believe they are serious and self-selecting, and therefore they become a customer and not a beneficiary. And that's an important aspect of it. The second aspect is that, while many models you will have numbers, the real authentication of work or closure of loop, somebody was talking about retention beyond 3 months, etc., comes through repayment. So if somebody is actually stuck long enough to be retained on the job and repaid his or her loan by virtue of being in the job or any other job, that would actually imply it is a skill well done or well transformed. So therefore, it comes with a built-in check-in mechanism where somebody, you would know, for example, this entire intervention has worked or not by the virtue of their repaying. In our case, the repayment rate last month stood at around 85-86%, but on an average, it is 75%, which is fairly decent in terms of scale with which we operate, and we believe it can increase as we go by. Now, background about the intervention itself, it is called Pan IIT because it consists of IITians from all the IITs, not necessarily Madras or Bombay, etc. So therefore the word Pan, many of them are sitting in the audience, and we have fairly illustrious board, Hari and Ashank and Mr. Mutturaman, Arjun, Professor Satya, Acharya, so it's fairly interesting. One of the things I did want to mention here is we work very seriously on an ecosystem level ourselves. So as you've seen, we've brought loan into the system. We've also brought an employer. Now with, for example, as a pilot we've done with the state government of Jharkhand, we have set up a special purpose vehicle. An SPV would be a separate joint venture, a not-for-profit again. It's called Pan IIT Alumni Reach for Jharkhand Foundation, so Praja Foundation, which 60% is held by us and 40% is held by the government, Department of Welfare, Government of Jharkhand, with an intent to fundamentally become a skill development partner for the state in a manner of choosing of what we do. So it's not just to take any other number target, but get into interventions like Gurukul, for example, in every district of the state. So the model has been that of pilot, succeed and saturate rather than kind of set up without an institutional basis. And this is working excellently well. We have 2 nominees from the government side on our board, one of them being the additional chief secretary of planning and finance for the state and the welfare secretary. So the kind of synergy and more importantly capital investment for all the buildings, assets, etc. is not an issue. So one of the biggest social venture philanthropists in the country is the government. So by partnering with them, we get their might, and since we have same shared twin objectives, we do it together. Of course, we have NABARD and NSDC who are doing their bit so far. And what is the proof of it is working? It is working because we've got many accolades, most promising partner of NSDC among all the partners. First of its kind special purpose vehicle which the government has endorsed and done a cabinet gazette resolution on. There is NABARD, Swiss Development Corporation success study, etc. We are fairly present across 10 states, focus on Naxal affected states, 23 Gurukuls. So it's fairly interesting work that has happened so far. So where do we go from here? I think with the revenue model in place, the idea is to scale up through state government driven mandate. So what has happened is since the state government has run, we are actually doubling our centers in this 1 year. 23 we are going into all districts of the state simultaneously because the government machinery is on the job. They're figuring out buildings, they're figuring out various models where this can be hosted. And we look at our own, same verticals, logistics, construction. In fact, our employers are also saying we need more people. So it's fairly working out on the employer side, it's working out on the infrastructure side, and supply would happen the moment you have an assured job. So we see hitting 10,000 by next financial year. So that's a fairly steep increase, which is possible because the revenue model and the infrastructural piece or the government collaboration piece is in place. And the idea is to take this to other states, Telangana and Orissa. There are enough Pan-IITians who can champion, and we hope that that is the model which we kind of take there in every district of that particular state. Not just this, in terms of Gurukuls, we are also expanding in terms of how we do what we do. So we're getting into vocational education in schools. Very interesting model. It's called Gurukul in a Box, where we are actually setting up role play kind of intervention where the kids actually become for 3 hours. We give them professional footballer kits. They actually play football and understand what it means to be a footballer or a media person. They actually produce a TV clip and figure that out. Second one is, of course, we are also re-looking at the entire ITI system. How can we revamp it? We are working with the state to kind of come up with ITI 2.0. It's called Autonomous ITI. It runs with very interesting abroad-like models with affiliation internationally. And the last one is, of course, working with upskilling programs with livelihood for ASHA workers, etc. This is how achieving scalability is, hub and spoke, etc. So what have we done so far? We've evolved revenue model in a grant-driven space leading to rotation of capital. This also provides a market basis so that the checks and balances are inbuilt in the system. We have a replicable, sustainable Gurukul model and institutional state partnership to 15,000 people per annum. Of course, what is that you need to do is to help us with placement linkages and growth capital. And that is what we are saying. There are very 2 specific things, how we can collaborate. And that starts with the 1-letter answer, I. As SVP chapters and SVP partners, can you refer 1 employer? Because journey of million jobs starts with 1. So by today, I want your connect buttons to actually connect and refer at least 1 employer in the ecosystem who you think we can work with. Take 10,000 jobs at least through Gurukuls as a mandate for the SVP chapters. And then the second part of what we require is institutional partnership we can't be 100% debt funded. We are a not-for-profit, so many impact investing firms do not work with non-profits generally. So therefore, we need an equity equivalent of kind of funding. We need to look at some serious scale. E-commerce companies who already had revenue model elsewhere got $3 billion. If you need to make scale with revenue model here, you need serious capital. So I think linkages and capital are the 2 fundamental takeaways, and I request all of you to really contribute at least 1 job at a time, right? So that's all I have from my side. And any questions?
Thank you, Kalyan. In fact, as a IIT Bombay alumnus myself, I can't resist putting in a plug because I visited their furthermost center in a little village called Bundu in Jharkhand, which is about almost 2.5 hours drive from Ranchi. And absolutely amazing in terms of the military precision at which it's being run. And extremely, a good corporate sponsor, very well managed curriculum, even in terms of self-help, food, etc. It's a very interesting center that we visited, and I think their scaling is fantastic. Questions?
Thank you, Dr. Ganesh. To add to that, it's an international center where we are sending people abroad to Middle East.
I forgot your Dubai thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so they are going to Dubai, etc.
Yes, please, go ahead. Can we get a mic across, please? One second. Thank you.
You said you want equity.
Yeah, but we are a not-for-profit.
Yeah. So how do you?
So that's what we have to figure out. How do we see? I think the important thing is if we need the return or not. So that's the question that we need to
I'm
answer.
from SVP. When you said equity, I thought I was interested.
Correct, but a non-profit equity.
That's
So
what
we
I'm
need
trying
to
figure out how.
Yes, we have to figure that out.
I thought he meant he wants your cash and you will get social equity.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Somebody had a question there? Yeah, please.
So we're working on a model where the student is paying back the loan.
Yeah.
But when we see the majority in skill development sectors, they are on a funded basis. So the issue which is happening on the ground, the students are getting a free education at most of the centers, and then the problem is at the time of mobilization. So how do you ensure identification of such candidates who are actually first of all needy and then who are sincere enough to pay back the loan? Because at other places the issue is this.
Yeah.
Identifying the right candidate itself is an issue.
So the crux of it is it's not very different from how any other institutions work where there are paid versus unpaid, right? People take huge loan to go to Harvard and they might not pay that kind of money in other B schools. The reason why people pay is fundamentally what's the outcome. The quality of our jobs, like I gave an example, Dubai, very few players in this space actually place people who do not even have passport. We create their birth certificate, their passport and get them job abroad. This is an unheard of intervention. So basically it's about the quality of jobs that you deliver. It cannot be minimum wage jobs that we are giving. There has to be some premium for the skill, and that's why I want people in this room to move their ecosystem, give some mandate, and it is productivity aligned. We in fact are asking all our employees to assess 100%, be convinced that this is productivity linked wages. It is not wages which the government mandates. And please be convinced that it is a business case that you absorb these folks. And that's where the difference comes. If these people are experiencing better wages.
The lady there, if you can just give the mic.
It's a very interesting model, but my question was that there's a lot of out-migration happening amongst the informal sector who do not have the right kind of skill set, and therefore there are agents who just take them, to different parts in the Middle East, in the Gulf countries. So how do you look at partnering with organizations like ours so that, they are just not taken away by agents and, thrown into different...
So we should just do a sourcing partnership. Please send all the students here. We are the honest, no agent kind of a model. Basically, they get a loan. They go at the cost of the loan. So so that's how we need. That's the whole idea of SVP. We need to work together. Please refer all that we ask is an education qualification of 10th because passport requires that kind of this thing. We don't want them to have money. But they have to have an attitude to learn and work. So that's all. That comes from the loan. So it's fairly interesting.